Hello, evolutionary astrologer Bryan Colter here for another horoscope report for this upcoming Sagittarian full moon that happens on June 14th. And this is a pretty exciting one. I'm calling this video YOLO. You know, you only live once. So there is this live life to the fullest in Sagittarian fashion. And although I'm describing the energy of the full moon itself, really, we're going to be looking at the energy for the next couple of weeks. It's just that the full moon is really where it's crescendoing. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, let me bring up the charts here. So, okay, let's understand what we're looking at here. So here we are wrapping up Gemini season. The sun's in Gemini. We'll add to that on the 13th, just the day before the full moon, Mercury is re-entering its own sign in Gemini. It just finished up its retrogradation, and now it's returning to its own sign. So a lot of Gemini energy. And then, of course, since this is a full moon, the moon is opposite the sun. The moon is in Sagittarius. So we're going to want to look at this Gemini-Sagittarian axis because this is a major player in this. Also, as you'll see here, you have Neptune in Pisces. Here's another planet in its own sign, in a rather tight, what's called applying square to this full moon, the sun and moon. So Neptune in Pisces is going to have a somewhat challenging relationship with this Sagittarian Gemini axis because squares tend to be a little harder to work with. And then the last thing I think we're looking at here, certainly not least, is Venus also in its own sign. Wow, notice how many planets are in their own sign right now. The archetypal fields are just quite strong and pure. Venus in her own sign of Taurus in a very tight applying conjunction with this north node of the moon, really highlighting the collective karmic intention of embracing this very Venusian and Taurus energy for the betterment and evolution of our collective souls, our group soul, if you will. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. Now let's start off looking at the energies of the supermoon. We have this juxtaposition between Gemini and Sagittarius energy. Now we can think of Gemini and Sag as basically opposite sides of the same coin. And at the core of the coin, if you will, they share the same evolutionary intention. They just have very different ways and styles to go about it. And that intention is basically to learn. You know, this is a hyperactive energy. Plus, it's air and fire. It's a kinetic blast of cerebral understanding and intellectual learning. It's time to soak up information like a sponge, basically. Now, the Gemini way of going about it tends to flit about, follow the threads of curiosity. You still, you know, an influx of information, but they tend to be a little bit more scattershot with it, which isn't necessarily bad. That's a good strategy for Geminis, is to follow their threads of curiosity wherever they lead them. Of course, we have to be cautious about the shadow side of that, which is, you know, a scattering or dispersal of energy, chasing your own tail, taking on too many projects at once, and you know, the cliche jack of all trades, master of none sometimes applies to Gemini, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, Geminis are uniquely positioned to offer a set of skills which are many that go in a lot of different directions, creating this very specific to them version of them being a teacher and a storyteller and a communicator. You know, so in order to really lean into that and to master it, they have to learn a lot of stuff. Sagittarius, similarly, has to learn a lot of stuff. It's just that they tend to go about it a little differently. They tend to go launch into something that, again, they're curious and interested in, but just going deeper with it. Deeper doesn't mean better. It just means sinking their teeth into some philosophy or ideology or belief system and trying to really dig deep to find meaning in life. You know, it's a classic philosopher or preacher archetype. It's also the sign of the gypsy and the scholar, and you know, there's a lot of movement with this energy. This would be a great time to travel, for example. It's a good way to learn. and ask the big questions in life, like why are we all here, or what is this all about? And there's a word I like to use sometimes, maybe because I am a Sagittarius, is YOLO. A little shrug of the shoulders. YOLO. It's like you only live once. Well, let's ask a philosophical question. Is that true? Do we only live once? And I wholeheartedly believe no. I believe in reincarnation for sure. So in terms of the truth of that statement, I don't think it's that accurate. That's just my opinion. However, I do love the sentiment, this idea of let's live life to the fullest. That captures so much of the spirit of this full moon. Now, of course, that can get us into trouble, and this is a good energy to have a good time. I mean, we're preparing to enter the summer solstice here, at least in the northern hemisphere, where I think most of my audience is from. So, of course, here in Portugal, I feel like summer is already here. It's just very hot. It's like 85 or 90 degrees right now outside Fahrenheit. So things are heating up, and it's, I live near the water. People are already out on their boats and having a good time. This is Sagittarian energy. And it's like the collection of fresh and new experiences for what? For our own learning. So this is also a good time to feel into, since we're looking at the moon here, feel into what your life is like now. And if there are any established patterns of behavior that you'd like to change, to mutate, to adapt. I mean, both Sagittarius and Gemini are mutable signs, which derives from the word mutation. So, that's, Geminis and Sagittarius typically are really good at starting new projects and not necessarily finishing them. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We can get to a place where, it's good to be cautious about that quality, but get to a place where I've learned what I've needed to learn from this. I'm going to move on to the next thing, So this is the spirit of this energy. It's actually a very beautiful energy. And I did say that this energy can get us into trouble, partly because of this Neptune square. Now, in the spirit of YOLO, we can party hardy. This kind of one manifestation of this energy, and especially with Neptune and Pisces square this full moon. It is a sign or a planet archetypal field associated with addiction. So there is some blacking out possibilities here for some folks that are working with these energies in that way. I'll also say another challenging way of working with this, or a way that it can get us into trouble, let's say. Sagittarius and Gemini, strengthened by Mercury being in Gemini as well. This does feel very intellectual, very much in the head. It is the energy of ideas, which is closely linked to that word of learning. One shadow side potential of Neptune and Pisces is deception, disillusionment, mirages. So this idea of, getting bamboozled by lies and just be very careful about, the information other people are spouting as the one solid truth. There's that Sagittarian preacher archetype. Be cautious about being deceived during this time. That would be another challenging sort of square manifestation. But just, thinking about the potential for an overactive mind now, it depends on where these planets are landing in your own personal chart. But if we were to generalize this energy over the collective, a lot of people are going to have their minds going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And one of the most beautiful and my personal favorite way of working with Neptune and Pisces, which, I've been talking about this a lot. You probably already know where I'm going with this, is meditation and in development, whatever that means for you. There's many ways to meditate and focusing on one's spiritual life. Yet we're looking at a square here that is more challenging. That's more difficult. Why is that? Because the mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's kind of hard to enter into theta state, to do your deep contemplation and inner work when your mind just won't shut up, So, yeah, but the prize is really worth the effort here. And we will be doing a guided meditation a little bit later, which will at least start out with some light concentration to try to to focus the mind, really rein that in for the purposes of the meditation. I'll share some more about what the focus will be with that meditation in a little bit. So we take this concept of ideas and potentially receiving ideas through meditative states. There's another possible integration with Neptune and Pisces. I feel like I want to talk a little bit more about Mercury here because, Mercury is one of the planets on center stage right now in its own sign in Gemini season to boot. And Mercury, I fall in this trap too. It sometimes gets presented in I want to say superficial way, although maybe that's not the right word. I mean, it's the planet of communication, as I was saying, of the intellect, of our thoughts. I feel like people that work with it more deeply go even below thoughts into perception. It really represents how we perceive reality, or like working with Mercury in our life is how we can perceive reality more clearly. But thinking about it, even from another point of view, is that, yes, it's of the mind, but, therefore it's kind of housed up here. And up here in our head center is one of the most powerful centers in our multidimensional body, because the realm of thoughts and the intellect really exists at a very high frequency in the fifth dimension or in the thought body. So Mercury is a very high octave or very high frequency. It exists, its archetypal field exists in the realm of thoughts and intentions itself. So it's we contrast that with the moon, for example, which is in the center of our chest, our heart, our soul, and our emotional world. That's very much in the fourth dimension, the astral realm, if you will, where we have the world of emotions, sentiments, and desires. And we go to the astral world every night when we sleep. So moon is really fourth dimension. Mercury is very much up in the fifth dimension at a higher frequency. That doesn't mean it's better. It's just it's at a different level, a different dimension. So I like to think of Mercury in that way. It's like, wow, it's really working up there. And you can think of it as one of the top filter points between the ego human personality and infinity. Anything beyond that, it's one of the top filter points. And how, let's say, solid and thick that filter is, or conversely, like porous and malleable, bringing more higher dimensional energies in, really depends on what sign your birth chart Mercury is in, what aspects it's forming to some of the planets in your chart, and really just the overall tenor and feeling of your birth chart as a whole. Let's bring up a quick chart example just for fun. We'll look at Albert Einstein, good old Al. He's a great example here. Let me bring it up. Okay, look at Albert's chart here. So his Mercury is in Aries. I'll get to that in a moment, but it's conjunct Saturn. Ooh, this is a very powerful conjunction mainly because the house that they're in, and they're somewhat near the sun. The house is the 10th house, which is Saturn's house. Here it is in its own house, in a very tight conjunction with Mercury. And Saturn is very much of this earth. It's about realism, being pragmatic, rationale. So it's a very of this dimension, deeply rooted energy. Here it is next to Mercury, of the mind, the rational mind. And he was obviously a master of rational mind and rational thinking. And I would imagine he was pretty warrior-like or assertive in telling you what he thought of as the truth. And of course, he was a Pisces, which is very interesting as well. And a Sagittarian moon to boot. That's interesting. A lot of mutability in his chart. So simultaneously recognize that, okay, assertively speaking his truth in a fiery way, this is what I believe, but it's subject to change, with that mutable chart. And in terms of like how thick is his top filter, if we were to look at just this in a vacuum, it's really quite thick, and just a mastermind is a good way of thinking of Saturn conjunct Mercury, especially in the 10th house. But he was equal parts scientist, which is a good way of describing Saturn conjunct Mercury, equal parts scientist, equal parts mystic, Sun in Pisces, the mystic, the dreamer, the poet. So he had some of his breakthroughs through getting those light bulb moments, basically, getting that inspiration. So actually his Mercury, even though it's conjunct Saturn, I would consider it quite porous. He was a visionary. A lot of these ideas just came to him. And in fact, one of his main ideas was a little boy's fantasy. He wanted to know, a 6-year-old boy, something like that, what it would look like if he was traveling at the speed of light. So he went on his bicycle and rode it as fast as he could to try to figure this out. And the idea came to him. Of course, later he had to prove it, through the scientific method. But yeah, he was equal parts mystic as scientist. It's a very interesting chart to observe and study. And of course, he was very well known for it. There's that 10th house of fame and career, his mission to be the scientific mystic, So it's always fun to look at Mercury in your own chart, try to figure out where it is, what sign it's in, what house it's in, aspects to other planets, to get a sense of what your top filter in the 5th dimension is. And this means a lot of different things: how you perceive reality, what information you're bringing in, how much information you're bringing in from higher dimensions, your speech template, style of communication, all these things. So Mercury is a very important planet, even though often it gets glossed over. So this video was a good opportunity to really leap to its defense. Okay, let me go back to the transits here. Okay, so we're getting a sense of this axis here, and it's really quite beautiful and playful. And it's like, what can I learn, and how can I adapt, and how can I bring in more freshness into my life? Now, also, this is the last planet I really want to talk about here. This is very important. We have Venus in her own sign. So Venus, the goddess of peace and the goddess of love, in its own sign of Taurus, the sign of nature, the sign of stillness, peacefulness, comfort. It's very much of the body. And looking at one of the more loftier evolutionary intentions here for the collective, because when we're looking at the transiting nodes of the moon, these horseshoe shapes in the chart, it is very much about the collective karma. And the north node specifically is the karmic medicine. So the collective is attempting, this is the evolutionary intention, to take our karmic medicine of Taurus. And we look at that through the Venusian archetype, especially now with it conjunct this Taurus North Node. This is one of the most precious opportunities during this 1.5-year transit through the sign to work with this now, which is the development of inner peace, putting our peace foot forward. And I love the idea of leveraging our own love, our own human, but also divine love, to help increase world peace, if you will. I mean, that's a very lofty thing, and we're all doing our own small part. But I say human and divine love because Venus, the goddess of love, very much does represent the more human element of love. And then you have Neptune in the mix too, as I described before, which has a more divinity feeling to love. So the two planets that are love's two faces, unconditional and conditional love, very active during this full moon. So if we can rein in the overactive mind, during all this, Gemini and Sag on steroids, and focus towards, I guess, the more loftier Sagittarian philosophy, which is basically we have X number of seconds left in this world, or in these brief and very fragile bodies, YOLO, or, live life to the fullest. And let's do our best here and try to align our behavior with cosmic principles. And there's a lot of fun ways we can work with this, but in a more spiritual context, which is Neptune's domain, how can we generate more peace within ourselves, but also world peace? And that's what I'm going to be focusing on with the guided meditation after this talk here, where I think it was a few months ago, I did a meditation called World Peace. And this is a more advanced version of that, basically, to help that along. And of course, the world could really use more peace right now, as it always can. But I think in terms of one of the more beautiful ways to work with this energy, that's really hitting the bullseye. So that's that in the spirit of this. I really like this full moon, actually supermoon. in Sagittarius. It feels quite fun and energetic, and we can get into trouble with it, of course, through this Neptune square, but there's also very beautiful ways of working with this. And at the end of the day, ultimately, it's about learning, soaking it up like a sponge, and to learn things by the end of the month that you didn't know at the beginning of the month. That's the spirit of this event. So those are the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Now, as usual, I recommend using headphones for the guided meditations. I use a technology called binaural beats, which will help to relax that overactive monkey mind. Enjoy. Let's begin by invoking divine blessing for this work. And you can repeat this prayer after me or use your own. Absolute infinite beingness, God, everlasting life, love and mercy, manifesting yourself in yourself as your total wisdom and almightiness. Please open our minds to understand that you are the truth, and cleanse our hearts to reflect your love towards you and all other beings. And let's begin by just having a nice soft focus on our solar plexus, that open space between your bottom ribs, and just focus your attention there. And connect the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. This helps to connect the front energy channels with the back energy channels to help with a more profound experience. And just focus on the breath as you focus on the solar plexus. And as you inhale, you softly feel your solar plexus expand. And as you exhale, you softly feel it contract. And allow the rhythm of the breath to relax you. And now add a visualization of a sky blue color in your solar plexus, with nice, steady breath. And now we'll add a count to the breath. 6 seconds per inhale. And at the top of the breath, hold your breath for 3 seconds. 6 seconds per exhale. At the end of the exhale, hold your breath for 3 seconds. 6 seconds on the next inhale. Hold the breath for 3. 6 seconds on the exhale. Hold the breath for 3. And maintain this 6-3, 6-3 breath pattern as you focus on the sky blue color in your solar plexus. And now return to your natural, rhythmic, comfortable breathing. And slowly bring your attention point up into your chest area. And visualize a pink color in and around your chest. And with each inhale, the pink color grows brighter. And with each exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And as you continue to visualize this pink color, remember a happy memory in your life. An event where you felt great love, connection, joy. And feel those feelings again in your heart center, along with the pink color. And feel your heart center smile with this joy. And silently send some loving words to your heart center. Love and compassion. And now wait for a response from your heart. Can you feel it? When your heart responds, it's fantastic. And now, slowly move up to your head center and visualize a beautiful golden yellow color in and around your head. And with each inhale, it grows brighter and brighter. And with each exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And while you visualize the golden yellow color in your head, pay special attention to the crown of your head and see a yellow star on the crown of your head. And over time you may begin to feel a tingling or a tickling sensation on your crown. Now remember another event that happened to you in your life that was beautiful. One of the most joyous experiences of your entire life. And as you remember this experience, feel your crown center smile. And silently send loving words to your crown center. This is the entry point of divine energy. And now wait for the response. Can you feel it? And now simultaneously feel the sky blue color in the solar plexus the pink in and around the chest area, and the golden yellow in and around the head, with an emphasis on the crown. And check to make sure that the tip of your tongue is still on the roof of your mouth. And now bring your attention down into your arms and physically lift your arms in front of you, your hands at chest level pointed outwards. And visualize a small earth the size of a ball in front of your hands. And send this loving energy to the earth. And say, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace and of your love. And visualize the pink from your chest and the golden color from your head flowing through you, flowing through your arms and your hands, and sending it to the small earth in front of you. You're a channel of divine love, divine bliss. And visualize the earth in front of you, surrounded and glimmering with this golden pink color. And you can send it to the whole earth, or you can focus it on a group of people or a country that's in great need. And where there is great sadness, send joy. Where there is injury, send healing. And surround the earth with love and joy and kindness, compassion. And as you're doing this, feel the peace in your head and heart. Feel the joy and the bliss as you send this to earth. And visualize people doing good things for others, using their willpower to spread their love. And visualize the faces of people turning from sadness or anger to joy and love and connection. Visualize people putting down their weapons and embracing each other. Suddenly remembering their true nature, which, like you, is pure love. Send this pure love to earth. Now slowly lower your arms and place your attention on the base of your spine and the soles of your feet. and visualize a pure gold color of excess energy that you don't need flowing through the base of your spine and the soles of your feet down into the earth below you, 3 meters or 10 feet, and see the soil below you glowing in this gold color, and send your blessings to our home, planet Earth. Let Earth be regenerated and rejuvenated. Blessings to Mother Earth. Now, as the music begins to fade, slowly bring your awareness into the present, into your environment and into your body. Slowly begin to shift and move. You've generated a great influx of etheric vitality in this meditation. So it's very healthy to go on a light walk or do some light exercise, just so any excess energy can flow through you. Thank you for joining me in this meditation, and whenever you're ready, open your eyes.